Hello everyone and welcome to the third episode of the DevConnect show. Today our guest is from Carlsbad, California. He's a principal architect at AlphaBoard and he spends his early weekends watching Formula One Championship. He is here today to show us how to build resilient integrations using Polly and Simmy. Because of the length of the episode, it has been splitted into two parts. So, let's come and meet our guest, Mohsin Mirza. Hey Mohsin, how are you? And welcome to
Hey, Danish, I'm good.
welcome to the DevConnect show.
Excited to be here, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking. You're from Carlsbad, California, right? So I was looking on this
Yeah.
map. Where is Carlsbad located? And I saw this Lego World, which is close to your place. So
Yeah.
I had this question like, how many times have you been to Lego World?
Yeah, Legoland is it's like 2 minutes drive away from my place, and I've been there a couple times. Took my daughter over there, and it's really amazing. All sorts of rides and stuff that they have over there, and yeah, it's a fun place. Yeah, I have enjoyed my time over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good that it's close to my place, so we can go over the weekend. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I also you noted that you like to watch F1 on
Yeah.
early weekends, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so now I have a question. Um, which is your favorite team in Formula One?
Yeah, been fan of Formula One since what, 2001, I guess. Yeah, so it's been a long time I've been following it, watching it. Favorite, I have like really followed the driver and the team, so I'm a fan of a driver first and a team. So driver, my favorite driver is Kimi Raikkonen. And that's kind of like the days when he started as well, from Finland. And amazing. I'm still a big fan of him. He's still there. And then yeah, I do like a couple other drivers as well. But in terms of a team, I don't really have a favorite team. Yeah, I'm more of like a driver fan in
Okay,
Formula One. Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I have a trivia as well for you. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Let's see. Sure, give it a go.
Yeah, so Lewis Hamilton won his
Uh-huh.
first F1 World Championship with which team?
I wanted a McLaren Mercedes. Yeah,
That
in 2008.
that was easy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was
So
easy.
mine is Lewis Hamilton is my favorite. So that's why.
Yeah, he's a seven-time champ now.
Yeah. And McLaren, obviously.
I think this year it's gonna be really tight between him and Max.
Yeah.
We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he may just edge him out towards the end of the year, just because Mercedes just has so much more like they have a momentum with them, right?
Right.
So with all that years of experience and budget and all that kind of stuff, so I think he will probably just maybe just win again for the eighth time as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I would like to see Max win the title, I
Yeah.
think he will probably
Yeah.
beat Max and
Yeah.
then win the title.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
He's aggressive, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He still came second on a bad day when he
Right.
spun and went to the barriers and
Yeah.
all the kind of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
So you can't really count him out. He's just like at another level. Yeah, he's just like amazing.
Yes. Well, so let's talk about Power Platform. And you started in 3.0, I believe, right? So
Yeah, not really exact 3.0. Started 4.0 when it was in beta version, so picked it up from that. And then yeah, it was like what, 2008, 9, and then ever since been like on Dynamics XRM platform. That's why you see my name mostly on XRM. Um, and I've done some migrations. One migration from on-prem 3.0 all the way to 2011. This was actually done back in 2011 as well. So yeah, when it was back in the day, it used to be callouts, so and workflows and another engine. So I had to like map into 4.0. So yeah, I do have some exposure experience with 3.0 as well. And yeah, I mean, I've been through all sorts of versions, 2011, 2013, 15, version 9. So yeah, I've been there like since the beginning,
Yeah.
basically.
So, but then how was your transition from this Dynamics 365 or
Mm.
XRM space into Power
hmm
Platform? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft kind of like pushed it, right? So 2 years ago when they started to rebrand things Dynamics 365, and then you back in the day, well, okay, what about F&O? And those guys were also becoming or being called as Dynamics 365. And so we kind of like had to like get up to speed with everything. And then Microsoft jumbled up, combined more things together with the Power Platform. I think it's a great idea, honestly. Gives partners and consultants more like ideas to build solutions, basically Power BI, Power Automate, or Microsoft Flow Azure stuff. So yeah, it's great. In terms of the transitioning, I didn't find really hard or difficult at all. I think it was pretty straightforward. I mean, those products were there already separately anyway. So with Logic Apps and Azure, so now it's Power Automate, Microsoft Cloud Flow now these days it's called.
Right.
Yeah, Microsoft keeps on renewing. Obviously, it's part of marketing as well. You have to create the buzz, keep the buzz going. So you kind of like every 2 3 years, you gotta, what is it these days called, Dataverse or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe a couple years down, it's probably gonna get renamed again or something. Yeah. So I don't. For me, it's still CRM, XRM. That's what I still call it, CRM. And you probably have seen in my recordings that I've done with in the XRM platform show, XRM virtual show. That I'm like still probably calling it CRM or XRM platform or Dynamics 365. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it's been good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not. So you're still working with that model-driven or CRM platform and not transitioned
Yeah,
over
yeah,
to.
yeah. Nothing. I haven't done anything on the Canvas apps. I mean, I've done some like educational stuff just to keep myself up to
Right.
speed with it, or like if a customer asks, "Hey, what kind of solutions we have or options we have available?" Then I kind of like, "Oh, I know Canvas apps does this and XYZ things and so." But the other thing as well, I try to like stay away for a little bit, couple years anyway. A couple of years, but yeah, a little bit initially because of those products and services also maturing for Microsoft as well, right? So you may see in Canvas apps like the whole FX language now, right, coming out as an own dedicated thing. And then they've added more and more features. We see the blog post coming out. And actually, you mentioned them in your the weekly thing that you send out, right? So they recently they have done the custom action APIs and all that kind of stuff. So keep on enhancing. I think now it's at a state that it's mature. You have to see from Microsoft side as well. Are they like committed to it, or it's just going to go away, right? So you can't really build enterprise solutions when Microsoft is just going to pull the plug on it, and then what do you do with it?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, my mind just went way back. I don't know how many years ago, maybe probably a decade ago. Microsoft had a product called Light Switch, Visual Studio Light Switch. So you could build similar like applications in Visual Studio Light Switch, and then it was drag and drop and everything. You could debug it live, and then you could change things and you could save things. And then Microsoft just killed the product. And then a lot of customers were like, hey, what about us? We still have applications built on that platform, on that product. And obviously Microsoft didn't really bother. It was just gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you just have to see from Microsoft side as well. Are they really committed to it? Yeah.
That happened with Silverlight as well. Like how many applications were built on
Right.
Silverlight, and then
Yeah.
and even like Silverlight was added into Dynamics as well. Like you can build a Silverlight application, put it in Dynamics, and then just light it up. But eventually, when Silverlight was scaled, then so many applications just said, "What do we do? Do we go to HTML, which it has limited things available."
Different user experiences altogether. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, a good example would be Ribbon Workbench from Scott, right? He built an original version or a Silverlight version, then he had to change it into HTML. So, yeah, I mean, you just have to take it how it is.
Yeah. Well, so today you are here to talk about how to build resilient integrations.
Yeah.
And the tool that you said you are going to show is Polly and Simmy. That before we actually get into the presentation and you showing how to use Polly and Simmy, I want to know, how did you actually learn about this Polly and Simmy?
Right. So I am an enthusiast of the platform, right? I like to do things hands-on. So data migrations, integrations, lots of challenges, right? Especially with Microsoft once they implemented the API limiting service protection limits. So you have to like think, okay, well, you have like these millions of records you got to either migrate from on-prem to online. You could probably go with the LSys process from Microsoft. You could use that, or if you just have like a migration project from other products, Salesforce to Dynamics, or some other third-party system, how do you migrate all these millions of records? You could use SSIS packages, Scribe, and all the other products, but there are like times when you have to somehow write your custom application to do that, or you're doing integrations with the different systems. How do you reliably every single night or every single day over weekends? How do you push data? So that kind of like drove me to obviously before the API limits, you had like whatever, you just push Dynamics and then it will just take it. So they initially did the 60,000 limit and then they changed it. So it's all in those sessions on my blog as well. But yeah, so that kind of like drove me to, hey, what are the other solutions? How can I sleep at night while I know the integration is going to run and then going to complete, or migration, I'm going to kick it off. It's going to run 12 hours, 24 hours, and I can go sleep as well, right? Um, so apparently, yeah, those sleepless nights also like pushed me or encouraged me to like look at different solutions or find different solutions. So that drove me, and then I found like just probably like Googling it or building how to how to add resiliency to the integration, and then I mean these other blog posts and topics and YouTube videos came up on how to use Polly. So Polly is a framework from the App VDEX team, and it's kind of like the probably the default framework that you have to use on if you're on .NET applications, .NET Framework or .NET Core, works both sides. And what it does is it allows you to define a policy, and then if you make an HTTP call or you have another like exception method you want to call execute that, you can wrap it up. You can say, hey, I'm going to define my policy as, hey, if it's a wait and retry, and then you define, hey, what kind of exceptions it needs to handle. You can tell, hey, what exceptions, and you can tell, or if it's an HTTP side of things, you can tell, hey, what type of HTTP status codes you can get and you need to retry on, right? So you can say, hey, HTTP 500, or for 2090 API limit one, retry after headers. So you tell that to it, and then you just, it kind of like with now with the .NET, since .NET Core 2.1, it's baked into the HTTP handler itself. So you don't have to like copy it or clone it or retry it. It just does by itself. And you just make a call with it. And if it fails, it Poly will catch it. It will retry by itself based on the policy that we defined already. And I'll show in the demo as well. And then, yeah, you can define, hey, retry, wait, either exponential back off or use the header value from the response request that you get back. Or you can say, hey, if you don't get anything back, it doesn't have to be Dynamics. It can be any API that you have to retry. So yeah, and you can do exponential back off in case you don't get a retry after the service is like not responding. You get a 500 error, right? So you still want to retry, but how you still back off a little bit, right? So you would back off a little bit and then you want to retry again. So you can retry 3 times, 10 times. You just tell it, hey, retry times. It will continue to retry for those many times, and then yeah. So that's kind of like how with the retry, we added retry policy. You can add some kind of resiliency to the product. But the other one is circuit breaker that I want to talk about. So circuit breaker, you want to use wait and retry when you know the service is responding to you, right? You want to wait and retry for something. You want to use circuit breaker. You want to bring it in when the service is down. It's not responding at all. So you know you're not getting response. So the server is probably down, needs to be restarted or something. So in those cases, you want to break out the circuit. You want to shut down the connection. You don't want to keep on hammering the server, keep on hammering the API. So what you want to do instead is you want to like cut off the open the circuit. It's like in electrical. So you open the circuit, the current is not flowing, so your requests are not flowing anymore. So you open the circuit for like 30 seconds, 10 seconds. Has something to do with the retry after. I mean, we could use if you have. But yeah, so allow the service, allow the downstream API to recover, not like continuously hit it. Even with a wait and retry, you do exponential backup, you hit it again. But you want to give the server, especially if you have distributed, you have Azure functions, right? So in those cases, you don't want to continue to hammer these servers. So you want to, okay, well, back off, open the circuit, and then I probably showed a distributed circuit example in my other session as well. Yeah. So the two approaches I probably like to use: wait and retry and circuit breaker for dynamics as well. So that's Polly. But at times, and obviously you can see a lot of other companies like Netflix or LinkedIn, they use WaterBear, and then Netflix uses their own thing as well. It really started with them as well, actually. So they have their own implementation. Not they don't use Polly. They're like Java based, whatever. But really, I mean, if you're building an application, I add resiliency to it. Okay, fine, great job. But how do I test it, right? I can't really go about and like test to sync millions of records. Like in terms of like, think of like a unit test case. You want to, or the DevOps pipeline case, right? You want to do a build, you want to do a test right now. How do you can't just say, hey, well, push these 100,000 records and then see if it will fail and retry and all that. So that's kind of like where Simmy comes in. And Simmy is basically your chaos monkey. So it will, you again define those policies that, hey, inject this fault, internal server error, or inject this other fault, or replace the message or status from Dynamics instead, and then say something else, and then see how your API or program will handle those messages, and then see what happens. So you can have policies, Simmy policies, monkey policies, define them, and then add them to your policy, the full policy wrap, basically. So it's like an onion. So you would do SQL fault or some other fault, HTTP fault or exception on the inner side, and then you would say, hey, wait and retry, and then you have a circuit breaker behind it, and then, or you have like a fallback policy that, hey, Dynamics didn't respond, or whatever downstream API did not respond with anything, so you want to say, hey, fallback, just return some default value if you still need it, or if you like some other customer service system is expecting a value, you have a default, you just return that. So it's like onion layers, a policy wrap. So you define that, and then the Simmy will, on each request, will evaluate based on like a percentage of number. You can say, hey, fail 10% of the time, or 20% of the time, 50% of the time. So half the time it's going to fail the call, and you expect your wait and retry policy to kick in and retry that request. So yeah, that's kind of like Simmy and Polly do, or add resiliency to your product. Yeah.
I can really see like how if we have to build this without using this tool, then I think so it would be so much tough to do it.
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, you could just use a for loop or something, but yeah, it's so difficult, hard to replicate. How do you modify? How do you? So it's nice and easy that it's just a framework. You can just add a NuGet package. You have Polly in your .NET application, and then all you have to do is just hook it up in your or define your policies, then hook it up in your dependency injection pipeline, and that's it.
Yeah. So now I'm excited to actually see it. So
Yeah.
let's do the screen share. Hey folks, so there is no demonstration in this part, but as I said in the beginning of the video, there is part 2 where Mohsin will show how to use Polly and Simmy in the code when building an integration. I've provided Mohsin's social media and website links in the video's description. He has also conducted a 2-hour training, and that training is available on 365.training. They have other contents and other trainings as well available for you around Power Platform and Dataverse. So if you have not checked out, then go to 365.training. I've provided the link in the video's description as well. And don't forget there is part 2 where Mohsin goes into deep to show you actual demonstration of Polly and Simmy and how they work to build resilient integration. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Hit that like and subscribe button. And till then, see you in the next episode of the DevConnect Show.